I think we can all agree that doing your taxes sucks. I mean, it's time consuming, it's expensive. Not a lot of people actually know what they're doing. But if you're like me and do contract work, it's even worse. Now imagine not having to file or paying anyone to do it for you, but instead having the IRS do it for you. Well, that was supposed to happen. I mean, and that would be great. But why don't they do it? That's a good question, because it turns out there's no reason that they can't do it. They have all of our information. In fact, according to the Vox, the IRS already has all your paperwork. They know your data. They know if you have a W-2, 1099, 1098 mortgage interest. They know if you have tuition. They know all of this stuff. And so, I mean, they should be doing it, but they're not. So now, in fact, in countries like Denmark, Belgium, Estonia, Chile, and Spain, they already pre-populate tax forms, so you don't have to do all the annoying stuff. So now, again, I'm going to get into the reasons why, right? Now, this is according to, this data is according to a new paper that estimates that at least 41% of American families, or 62 million tax filing units, could have their taxes automatically handled by the government. Now, this 2009 effort came from an agreement by the IRS to allow researchers the data to pre-populate return for taxpayers using information in their system. They ran the match to show how it could work for an individual. The most conservative approach to collecting and tabulating data showed that 62 million Americans could have their taxes done easily and quickly this very way. So look, 62 million Americans, that's, I mean, that is, wow, a lot of people, a lot of people. So now they also looked at people who didn't file. Now, look, there's a lot of people in this country who don't file federal taxes, and it's not because they're lazy, it's because they don't make enough money. So we have millions of Americans that do that, and it turns out when they calculated it, they found that 22% of Americans who don't take the tax credits that they're owed. They estimate that 7.2 million tax units who aren't required to file are owed refunds averaging of about $411 each. Those units would be likelier to get their refunds under a pre-populated filing system. So look, okay, first thing, I don't like calling them units, they're people. Okay, I don't know why they go with that terminology. That's ridiculous terminology. Not in favor of it. Okay, so getting at back to it though, $411 per person on average. Wow, that's a look. It's a decent chunk of money. It's not like the most amount of money, not a fantastic amount of money, but it's also not chump change. It's an electric bill. It's a cable bill. It's an energy bill, electric. You know, maybe a little bit of groceries for a week. I mean, it really depends on where you live, right? So, and especially if you don't make enough to file taxes to begin with, that can be a significant amount of money. And so why don't these filers then take advantage of these credits? Well, I mean, that's where it gets to the money part, right? Now, look, if you take it to a tax prep company, they're going to charge you, and that costs money, even though there are free options, right? I'll get to that. Now, if you made so little money to not have to pay taxes into the system, are you going to waste your time and money filing? And that's assuming that you might get some sort of credit, which is never transparent. So people probably don't even know. So now, again, the other option is they could do it themselves, right? Well, again, time consuming, confusing. And so what people do is they end up missing out on refunds that they're owed. It's a pretty bullshit system, especially since there's no reason for us to have to do it this way. But this is where we get into what the real reason is. The 2022 market size of the tax prep service industry is equal to about $11.2 billion in revenue and about $2.3 billion in profit and growing. And by the way, it's a barely regulated industry. At present, only 7 states regulate tax prep services, with many operators having limited expertise and offering services relatively informally. The IRS estimates that close to half of all prepared tax returns are filed by unregulated, fly-by-night preparers. These returns generally contain errors, such as failing to claim available deductions, claiming deductions mistakenly, and failing to report income correctly, and reportedly relate to a high incidence of fraud, particularly regarding the earned income tax credit. So, look, that should piss you off. I mean, not only are you paying a private company, a tax preparer, for something the government can actually literally do for free, but you're also likely getting screwed over out of credits and deductions that you are owed. Now, the government knows this, but doesn't do anything, and it's because of the donors, the lobbyists, the greed, and the corruption. According to Open Secrets, in a recent report, Intuit and other tax prep companies actually spent about tens of millions of dollars lobbying the federal government to try to protect their paid tax prep services and steer millions of more into political donations. Back in 2019, ProPublica also did a report that tax prep companies in the so-called IRS Free File Alliance, which was supposed to be like, it's a public-private partnership between the IRS and these corporations, right? And so, oh no, we're going to offer these free file when it's actually supposed to be free to begin with. But according to this report, these so-called Free File Alliance, these companies steered tax filers away from these options, hid their free file options from Google results, and instead directed users to paid products. Shocker. Including products marketed as free that would also deceptively trick clients into paying when they could have filed their taxes for free. Intuit has actually spent more than $41 million on lobbying since 1998, with $3.3 million in 2021 and about $3.4 million in 2020, according to Open Secrets lobbying data. And of course, one of the top beneficiaries of individual contributions from Intuit affiliates, which includes donors who have listed Intuit or TurboTax as their employer and their families, was none other than President Joe Biden, who received more than $146,000 in political contributions. There's your answer. It's the money, Lebowski. Joe Biden getting paid off. And not just Biden, not just the Democrats, but also a lot of politicians getting paid off by these tax prep companies so that millions of filers have to use this system. Or if they don't choose to use that system, then have to go through an incredibly burdensome process in order to get their taxes done when the government literally has all the stuff and can do it for free. This is what corporate rule looks like. Of course, it's the money. Follow the money, follow the corruption, follow the greed. It'll lead you exactly to the answers that you're looking for as to why things happen in this country the way that they do. And by the way, that's why number one priority is to get money out of politics.